What would it take to blind Moscow's 5-layer air defense in under an hour? Start at 9:30 a.m. A 230-unit decoy swarm fills the radar scopes. False tracks, real warheads, maximum confusion. Jump to 10:15 a.m. 20 MiG-29s. Stealth modules on. KH-31Ps locked. Threading gaps the decoys just opened. At 11:45 a.m., a single strike on a central dome triggers a cascade underground. Encryption hubs fail. Metro 2 links sever. Tunnels start to subside. If you think this is just spectacle, watch how timing, not tonnage, does the damage. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Why flood a city's radar with 230 drones when most won't hit anything? Because the first win is blindness. At 9:30 a.m., Moscow's defense ring wakes to a dense field of contacts. The outer layer, FSO perimeter patrols and static checkpoints, logs the first low hums. Spetsnaz alert teams roll to airfield fringes and government compounds, ready to chase wreckage or shooters. Inside that human shell, short-range point defenses come alive around ministries and comms nodes. Panzer S-1 batteries anchor the gaps, tracking low and fast overhead. S-400 coverage scans long arcs and assigns priorities. On paper, 5 layers interlock. In practice, they depend on one fragile link: agreement on what is real. The paradox shows up fast. Strong networks move faster, but they also fail faster when inputs spike and contradict. The swarm isn't uniform, it is built to argue with the sensors. UJ-26, Bober ER decoys, lug cheap reflectors and noise beacons. Schmel 400s add small warheads to force real intercepts. Kestrel X variants carry mixed payloads, some electronic, some kinetic, and no two look the same on a scope. Their radar cross-sections vary by design. Some appear like a hobby craft. Others look like a small jet. They fly in staggered altitude bands from treetop to mid-level, crossing sectors at odd angles to mimic multi-axis threats. Every pass generates new tracks. Every new track demands a decision. DEFCON Omega fires next. The alert state ratchets up, fusing feeds from sector radars, mobile arrays, electro-optical posts, and signal intercept stations. The fusion stack smears under load. False tracks multiply. Command bandwidth narrows. Voice nets stretch as controllers push updates that arrive late and contradict the last packet. Operators start dropping automation filters to stop the flood, then pull them back when gaps open. The system is still online, but the trust in it is slipping. You can see the first breaks in how the defenses move. Jammer pods and fixed emitters switch on across 3 belts, raising the noise floor and lighting up for passive seekers that may or may not be in the air. Shored turrets rotate toward lanes already spoofed by bright decoys, leaving quieter threats to slide by. Radar crews shift to manual triage, clicking off low-confidence returns to clear the screen, only to have new ones spawn on the edges. The objective is not to hit targets. It's to force the network to argue with itself. Modern IADs runs on trust in data. Decoys exploit that trust. They don't just fool a radar. They poison the perception loop that tells humans what to believe. As the perception trap deepens, comms nets degrade. Handoffs between sectors lag. Identification protocols expire mid-check. Interceptor tasking drifts off real threats and onto recyclers with the loudest signatures. Missiles get reserved for what looks dangerous right now, not what is actually moving toward protected nodes. This is where prior mapping pays off. Ukrainian planners identified 14 weak points in the network. 2 were fatal. Data pathways without redundancy between sector fusers and the central node, and human-in-the-loop choke points at hub consoles that throttle updates under stress. Hit both at once, and the network stays powered but loses coherence. Units still hear orders, but they no longer match the field. Batteries hold fire for tracks that never arrive. Others fire blind into air that is only noisy. At 10:14 a.m., the returns thin. Operators breathe. The wave looks like it has crested. Engines cool, radars settle, and the boards feel normal for the first time in 40 minutes. That's the window the real strike needs, and it starts 1 minute later. How did 20 jets cross defended airspace and get seen as almost nothing? They borrow silence. At 10:15 a.m., the first 4 MiG-29s slide in low, no radios, no lights, and no active radar. Their KH-31P anti-radiation missiles are slave to passive receivers that hunt for emissions without speaking back. The route is not a straight line. It follows radar nulls that the swarm carved an hour earlier, gaps between overlapping lobes, terrain shadows, and fresh dead zones where sector filters still argue about what to trust. Each jet rides a lane that exists only because the network is busy correcting itself. The risk window is real. Anti-radiation missiles want a live beam. If a search radar blinks off at the wrong second, the KH-31P can lose lock and sail to nowhere. If a battery commander holds fire and keeps the dish dark, a corridor that looked open becomes a wall. The pilots plan for it. Each flight pairs missiles with backup inertial profiles, burned in from recon runs and satellite passes, so a cut emitter still pins its last known point. They also spread timing by seconds, not minutes. If one jet gets a cold sector, the next catches the relight. The airframes carry quieting mods stacked for effect. Conformal RAM panels smooth out hotspots and knock down reflections. Intake baffles break the fan face glare that radars love. Reduced corner reflectors reshape hard angles around pylons and wing roots. Emissions discipline stays strict. No IFF, no ranging pings, just passive listen-tow decoys trail behind, ready to drink a missile seeker if one wakes up. Combined, the changes pull the radar signature down by 87%. On a busy scope, a MiG that once looked like a medium fighter now looks like clutter. Timing does more than hardware. Sector AI classifiers are still retraining on the fly after the swarm. The data storm forced new thresholds and fresh models. That retrain opens a blind spot. The jets enter on the tail end of that cycle, when the system doubts new tracks and weights continuity over novelty. A faint return moving at edge speed looks like a ghost echo and gets shelved. The pilots keep speed steady and altitude changes shallow to fit the classifier's ignore bin. The kill chain is kept short. Detect, geolocate, launch, relocate. A passive sensor picks up a sector search radar at a known azimuth. The jet nudges the nose. The missile comes off hot and it rides the beam. If the emitter dies mid-flight, the KH-31P flips to its backup INS and flies the last stored profile. The shooter turns away and drops a few hundred feet to break any late lock, then slides to the next waypoint. No orbiting. No second passes if the first does the job. Penetration runs in 2 waves. The first pair goes after the broad search radars that feed the belts protecting the center. When they go dark, tracking solutions get scarce. The second wave follows a beat later and hits the fire control nodes around the central dome and the underground access points tied to it. Those nodes mean precision guidance for interceptors and queuing for point defenses. Take them down, and every gun fights blind or stays quiet. At 11:45 a.m., follow-on munitions shape the effect. Shaped charge penetrators hit vents and cable conduits rather than the dome crown. The blast paths rebound through service shafts that run into encryption rooms below racks fail. Patch panels arc. Heat and overpressure follow the wiring like a map. The central node goes offline, and the link to the deeper network, the Metro 2 tie-in, shears as structural supports twist under the shock. That is the payoff from silence. The 87% RCS cut and passive targeting left defenses chasing ghosts. The jets never looked loud enough to earn top priority. With the node dark, the city's map goes stale in a minute. Routes that mattered at breakfast no longer exist by lunch. Now the only thing that counts is what a dark command grid lets loose above ground. Precision timing beat mass. Overload the eyes, then silence the mouth, and the brain misfires. That sequence turned a hardened grid into a confused bystander. The swarm forced doubt into every console. Then the quiet jets removed the pieces that could speak with certainty. Minutes mattered more than munitions, because each window opened the next.